I don't know any other place where it doesn't exist. I think it exists anywhere in cinema. It exists even across the continents also. The cost of capital. So just to add to what Mr. Hassan has said, we all come into this business with passion of cinema, but we take time understanding the business of cinema. So
yes,
these are completely two different verticals. And if you have to sustain in this industry, put aside the factors of luck and destiny, which are part of the passion industry. But the most important thing is understanding the numbers of business of cinema. I think that's where the criticality and the you can sustain only if you understand the business of cinema. However much passion you have, sorry to say, but you get really wiped out. But if you understand the business of cinema, I think the chances of producers to, and we all need great producers, good producers, to sustain is a great possibility. There's a lot of potential.
I'll just interrupt you here, since you said that you need to understand the business of cinema, otherwise you'll be wiped out. How do you balance, once you start understanding the business of cinema, the lure of money so much, does passion take a backseat? How do you ensure that the passion is still burning inside your belly?
Like any other profession, balance is the most important part.
Okay.
And I was, like, my journey over the last 20 years of being in cinema has taught me that passion is always there. That's your fuel. But what you cook also need to taste good. It needs to be appealing to the people. A misunderstanding and a misconception a lot of people will have, and I'll address your so-called percentages into the rest of the question. People think producer means they're going to come with a suitcase. I think first that need to change. Producing is a properly well-educated and well-learned, actually a profession. A producer represents to the director or the storyteller what an audience is looking for. A producer is the catalyst through which passion gets streamlined and then focused on the big screen. Yet, I want to tell very clearly, producer is a thankless job.
I can see all the producers sitting here smiling.
Nobody thanks you. Everybody, including the director and every person passionate in cinema, will have a finger to show it and say, because of him, I'm suffering today. But because of her, I'm suffering today. So I think that's very, very important to understand that it is the producer that sees the passion through the eyes of the audience and gives it the ticket of success. A lot of people miss this language. People think producer means, let me go narrate it to the producer. Producer will write the check for me. No, the first thing producer is your first critique. And you need to understand and listen to the producer, because it's the producer that makes your film successful. It is
possible also.
Yeah. Possible is a must. And beyond possible, it has to be a success. Because producer sees the potential of success. And then he opens the doors of possibilities, including at the risk of his own and her own space of what is a risk financially, risk of the history of whatever they have worked earlier, and risk of whether the possibility of making the film will happen ever, and the fact that it may never hit the screen. So all this risk is completely taken by the producer. Yeah, and it's a completely selfless and completely thankless job. And even though I studied direction, I chose to be a producer because I realized that when I came back to India that it needed producers. There are a lot of directors, but there are no producers that actually are thinking of creating a platform for this passion.
So you chose and pursued production over direction.
I studied to be a director at NYU.
Oh, yeah. Let me ask you a question. Did you study production or you learned it on the field?
Nobody can teach you production unless you learn it on the floor. And I learned from one of the best producers in the country, Suresh Babu.
Oh, Suresh Babu Naidu.
Suresh Babu.
Wow.
Yeah. Suresh Babu Daggubati. Yes, part of the Ramanadu Studios. So, production can only be learnt on the floor. You have to get your hands dirty. You have to get up at 4 in the morning. You need to understand to make those calls to get the crew. So there's a long story and a long journey. So coming back to your question of so-called percentage. So when the producer decides to make the film and loves the story and tells the director, you know what, I'm going to make your dream happen, then he reaches out to a financier. That's when your suitcase producers come into place. And please get this clarity in your mind. No producer is going to write a check for you, because a producer job is to facilitate the financing And financing, like any other cost of capital of any other industries, comes at a